Hi, everyone. The question of the week is, how do you get middle management to take more ownership? This is a $1 million question, everybody. Get out that pen and paper, and I'm going to give you 5 practical ways on how do you get middle management to take more ownership. I'm Dr. Karyn. If we haven't met, I am a leadership relationship expert. I'm the co-founder of a global leadership company called DK Leadership. We work with organizations, small solopreneurs. Lots of our companies we work with have like around 5 or 10 employees. But when we have lots of clients that have 50 employees, 500, 1,000. Our largest client, I think, has about maybe about 200,000 employees. So we work with all sizes of organizations. So these principles apply. Okay, these principles apply beautifully within the organizational context, regardless of your size. If you are also an entrepreneur, a business owner, professional, but you're also a parent, you'd actually I'm kind of curious about how do I actually teach these skills, especially around ownership to my family. You are going to want to pay attention because these principles, we're going to focus a little bit more on how these principles apply and these tools apply to our organization, but there's a lot of takeaway to our family, and that's what we love to do. We love to teach leadership principles that can apply both to your organization, your business, as well as your family. All right, so let's dive in. Number 1. So again, these are some of them you're going to know and some of them you're not going to know. So that's fine. Or maybe it's a little review, which is great. Okay, so the first one is to really, how do you get management to take more ownership? It is really important that people, your managers, know what is the goal. So it's really interesting, in the work that we do with all sectors. I mean, we work with manufacturing, insurance, police force, hospitals, consumer foods, lawyers, lots of dentists, lots of healthcare. We work with literally, I don't know of a sector that we actually don't work with. And so, but it's really interesting. So the work is different, the cultures are different, but people are so similar. It's really interesting, actually. And so there's a lot of commonalities across all these different organizations. And this is one of them, is that people really need to have clear goal. So in a lot of the organizations we work, when I do team coaching, I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've heard people say, Karyn, I don't know what we're chasing. I don't know what our goal is. I don't know what the follow-up is. I don't know what we're doing. I just kind of come in, I do my job, I put my head down, and I repeat the next day. And to really get engagement, to really get kind of the buy-in, to really get people to kind of get that traction in terms of the ownership, it is really important for all levels of leaders, okay? So senior leaders, middle management, emerging leaders, that they understand what are your goals and how is what they do, how does it contribute to their goal? I see this a lot. When I first started doing work in organizations, it was because I was a teen expert. I had worked and done so much work with teenagers and the family systems, and then teens grew up, turned into millennials, and millennials entered the workforce. And so I started getting a lot of calls from our client, our sponsors that were sponsoring me on the family side to get them to help them with managing the multi-generational workforce. So when I first started working with companies 20 years ago, that was where I started. I started working with companies on really helping managers. And again, this can be a whole other talk, but just to kind of tie it into this one of the things that I found very interesting is the younger generation in particular. They really, so I'm talking about millennial, Gen X, not Gen X, millennials or Gen Y, as they're also called, and Gen Z or Gen Z. So if you have my book, The 3 Chairs, I talk about this. You can pick it up on Amazon if you don't have it. But all that to tie it together is that the younger generations in particular, okay, really want to work in an organization that they know is making a difference, that is progressive, that they have a clear purpose, that they understand that what they are doing is actually part of the greater organization's vision. They really want to kind of connect that dot. And that is so having clarity around what is the goal and the vision for the organization, what are the goals, and what are, in particular in your team, what is the team's goals, and what is it, what they do, how does that kind of contribute to that? It's all really, really important as part of it. And so that's the first thing, is you want to have real clarity about what is what is the goal? Okay, so let's take it. Let's say you have a small team. Let's say you have a team of 5 to 10 people. So you want to have clarity, like what exactly are your goals for the year. And for smaller organizations, and even like the big ones actually that we work with, it's 3. It's 3. You're going to have lots of different key results as part of those 3, but it's actually 3 main objectives. And so you want to have clarity of the goal. So that's kind of like number 1. Number 2 is every goal needs to have a name to it. This is really important, because what happens, and I'm going to tie this into the family system in just a second, but what's really interesting is that once you have a goal, one name, not a team, one name needs to be attached to that goal. All of a sudden, the second you have one person's name, now they're being held accountable. We have a major accountability problem with a lot of companies and a lot of cultures because we don't have this set up. There's not clear goals, and it's not really clear on who is responsible for what. And if you don't have clarity of that, you're going to have an accountability problem for sure. So to really simplify the model, you would get clarity on the objectives, or your three things that you're chasing. You get one name per goal. That is really important. And all of a sudden, and trust me, when I do team coaching with this, and we start setting up their business system, and I watch the body language, when people see their names get slotted in, that they are responsible for that goal. And now, just because we're putting the person's name, one name per goal, does not mean that they're fully responsible to achieve that goal by themselves. Of course not. We work in teams, we work in systems, but you need a leader. You need every key result needs one person to lead it that is going to be held accountable to that goal. And so that is a really big piece. And let me tell you, it causes a lot of angst and sometimes anxiety, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, because what happens is the second that we actually start getting clarity about the goal, the name, who is going to be responsible for what goal, all of a sudden you start getting some real traction, and you start getting some real excitement and energy. You'll start feeling the energy with it. So, and again, I can go into lots of details with this, but I'm just kind of giving you a high level. Okay, so you have to have clarity of what the goal is. Number 2, of who is going to be responsible for that goal. And again, just clarifying, it's not that you have one name, but you are going to obviously have a whole team of people actually helping. The same thing happens, just really quick, on the family system, because I love teaching how these principles apply to both business systems and family systems. So in the family system, the same thing happens. We get couples or individuals to clarify in terms of what their vision is, and what are the different goals, and then who is responsible for it. Simple example with my children, they have different chores that they are responsible for. And I learned very quickly that if you have a chore, don't put 2 people's name according to who's responsible. If you have 2 names, then kind of nobody's responsible. And it's so easy to kind of point the finger. It's one job, one role, and one name. And that is part of how you get the accountability and the ownership to kind of kick in. All right, so number 3, everybody, is you have the goal, you've got who, now you've got the clarity of when. When is the deadline? So what is the goal and when is the deadline? Is this a quarterly goal? Is this an annual goal? What is going to be the deadline? You have to be clarity of a deadline. We have a program called Success Intelligence, and in the leadership coaching program, it's great for professionals and businesses to teach these concepts. And what's interesting is with the deadline, there's some personalities. One of the modules we teach is around personality differences, and one of the modules is around in personality. There's some people that actually they need a deadline. If they don't have a deadline, like if you say, I need this, work on this project. If they don't have a deadline, they'll just kind of keep working on it. If you're like, I need this project by Friday, they might be working on it a Friday morning. They need a deadline. It's 8 of the 16 personality types. And so deadlines are really important. Okay, deadlines, and there's some people that just work really, really well against a hard deadline. Some people will work, really do a lot of work before the deadline, and other people are working right up against the deadline. And it's not better or worse as long as the job is getting done, right? So have clarity about the deadline. Okay, so that is number 3. Number 4. And by the way, this is all part of developing a business system. So we have lots of wonderful free resources on our website. The one that I'd actually recommend for if you are enjoying this content is just down below, write down business. And we've got a really great one pager. It's like a business scorecard of how you can accelerate your business. I think you'll find that really valuable. So it's free. Just write down business below and someone from our team will send that to you. And you can, it goes into a lot more detail around this. Okay. Number 4, okay, you want to figure out your cadence of accountability. Okay, so ownership, it happens when there is clarity of the goal, there's clarity about the expectation, there is clarity around when it has to be done, there's clarity around who, and now you've got to have follow-up. So you want to have what is going to be your cadence for follow-up. This is where a lot of things fall apart. And I saw this a lot when I started working with organizations and managers, and they're like, well, I shouldn't have to follow up. You do have to follow up. We all have to follow up. But what you want to do is you want to have a cadence for it. So versus it's one more thing for you to do. You don't want to add one more thing to do. We want to simplify your life. We want to reduce your stress. We want to drive your productivity. So the way you kind of develop your business system is you really develop a cadence on follow-up. So again, this is one of the things that I teach in the Women Entrepreneur Mastermind is what is your cadence on accountability? What is your cadence on communication? You know, what is it going to be monthly? Is it going to be weekly? Is it going to be daily? Daily would be actually, I think, too much. But most of the teams we work with, they have a cadence on follow-up, whether it's going to be a weekly or a monthly. That's how most people do it, most organizations that we work with. Okay, so that is number 4. And number 5, everybody, number 5 is you need to model ownership. You need to model ownership. So here's one of my favorite questions I love to ask. I ask this on the business side, and I also ask this on the family side. And the question is this, looking at the goal that we actually have, I could have done this past month. I think I did this well, ... And I realized I think moving forward, I could do this better, ... I could take ownership for this part. So I model it, and then you throw it to the person. What do you think you did well? And what do you think what do you think you could do better? Or what do you think you could take ownership for? So you model it first, and then you ask the question. And it has to be pretty directive. This does a couple of things. One, it creates this very safe environment that you're not superior to them. You're not better than them. You're a human. You're leading them. So you're really leading them both in terms of your business goals, but also you're leading them on leadership. Okay. You're leading them in terms of emotional intelligence. And so this is a great question. And it also kind of drives home that positive reinforcement around, these 3 things I'm doing well. I take ownership. I could have done these 3 things differently this month. What about you? What do you think 3 things are that you did well? What do you think you could take ownership for? Or 3 things you could do to improve this next month? And you ask that question, okay? You model it and you ask that question. It creates that psychological safety. It creates a beautiful environment of learning. It creates this wonderful dynamic between managers and their team members. And the bottom line is everybody's going to win. Everyone's going to be feeling better. It's going to drive your engagement. It's going to drive your retention. It's going to build your culture. It's going to drive your productivity. It's going to lower your stress. It's going to do everything. So these tips, I love doing these videos because I really believe I see this. I love to teach it here. But I love working with real organizations because I see these tools work over and over again. So they work when we actually apply it. So hopefully you've enjoyed. Again, if you haven't gotten our business scorecard, write business below. Make sure you check out our other videos. We got lots of videos. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you've got a topic you would like me to cover, make sure you let us know or send us a private message. Go to dkleadership.org and someone from our team will respond to you as well. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you at one of our other videos.